Hello and welcome to another episode of What Happened Here. And this evening we're in the village of Killanne, and we're here to tell the story of a man who, at the height of the Great Famine in 1847, was not afraid to tell authorities exactly what was happening on the ground. In January 1848, Charles Trevelyan wrote an anonymous letter to the Edinburgh Review, and he lauded the famine relief efforts in Ireland. And in the article, he said that relief of famine by government funds wasn't a good idea because the ordinary man and the Irish in general would rather put on a poor mouth than to work and build the economy. In the article, Trevelyan said, "First, it has been proved to demonstration that local distress cannot be relieved out of national funds without great abuses and evils, tending by a direct and rapid process to an entire disorganisation of society. This is, in effect, to expose the common stock to a general scramble. All are interested in getting as much as they can, and it is nobody's concern to put a check on the expenditure. If the poor man prefers idling on relief works or being rationed with his wife and children to hard labour, if the farmer discharges labourers and makes the state of things a plea for not paying rates or rent, if the landed proprietor joins in the common cry, hoping to obtain some present advantage and trusting to the chance of escaping future repayments, it is not the men but the system which is at fault. All classes make a poor mouth, as it is expressively called in Ireland." This inclination, while not shared by all of the administration or those administering relief, was praised in some sections, and at times efforts to cover the hardship at a local level was not uncommon. One man who experienced firsthand the hardship of the famine in this area throughout the period is buried here in Killanne graveyard. And he was Dr. George Lang, who was medical officer in the Killanne area for over 26 years and died in 1871. And this is his final resting place. A prime example of this is the story of Patrick Keeley from the parish of Killanne. Patrick Keeley was involved in relief works in Tomanine, and on the 16th of February he called to a neighbour to see if he had any food that he could give to Keeley and his wife and children. The neighbour gave what he could, but he observed Keeley to be in a very weak state. On the 17th of February, Patrick Keeley called to the dispensary here in Killanne with a ticket that he had got from Mr. Whitney in Rathmuir. And he complained to Dr. Lang of having a weakness in his arms, and he feared losing the use of his legs. Upon examination, Dr. Lang observed that Keeley had remarkably contracted features. His eyes were sunken, his hair was standing out from his head, and he had the appearance of great emaciation. Dr. Lang examined Keeley, and he could find no physical or muscular reason for his pain, and he concluded that Keeley was dying from want. The following week, on the 23rd of February, Patrick Keeley died. This case would not be remarkable in a time of famine, except for the debate which followed it. On the 20th of March, in the barony of Fort, Captain Dyer, who was inspector for the Board of Works and in charge of the relief works that was going on, stated that the coroner's report given out in the Fever Hospital in Castlebar in Rathmuir could not be true, and Keeley could not have died of starvation, because the day before he died there was 3 shillings and sixpence and a stone of meal in his house. A verdict of starvation would not show the relief work in a good light. George Lang was quick in his response. In a letter to the Wexford Independent on the 27th of March, Dr. Lang stated that even if this was the case, Keeley had the money and the meal in his possession on the 22nd. That was the day the men were paid, and Keeley had died the next day on the 23rd. He also said that upon carrying out a post-mortem, he found all organs in the body free from disease, with the exception of a small amount of gruel in the stomach and his gallbladder full, which is the case with people dying of malnutrition. George Lang was one of the many people who could see the devastation of the famine on a daily basis, and he was not afraid to challenge or highlight the insufficiency of the relief efforts.